Hello guys and welcome back to the Behind the Dugouts, and it's time to get serious. No room for rotating the squad, no time for experimenting with James in midfield. This is do or die, make or break. We had an average performance through the group stage, an okay-ish performance against LAFC where we could have picked up a few more goals, a not so great performance against Flamengo, and that's me putting it lightly, and then a better performance against Esperance, although it was a fully rotated side, so not really much to take out of that one. But we're now into the knockout rounds, into the round 16 against a very good Benfica side. This is going to be the first time we are coming up against a Champions League level opposition in quite a while, to be honest, and obviously the first time coming up against this type of competition in the Club World Cup. They are going to come out and try and play their own style of football and not, I don't expect them to sit back and play deep in a low block, sort of soaking up Chelsea's pressure. They are going to come out and they're going to play, and they're going to come with all the fire and the determination to, beat Chelsea. We have had the opportunity to get quite a few over them in the past, one being beating them in the Europa League final, and that will, sit in the back of their minds, resonate. They're going to want a bit of revenge. It's natural. That's what we're like when we come up against teams that have beaten us in the past. But look, it's going to be a fiery fixture, and Benfica are no mugs. They do have quite a lot of experience through their side. Some ex-Premier League players. One in Ángel Di María, United, played for Madrid, has got great quality on the ball, lost a few yards of pace, but regardless of that, he is still going to cause a lot of threats with his experience. He's played at the top level for many, many, many years, and Chelsea are going to have to be wary of this. And even in their backline, they have leadership qualities, experienced defenders in Nicolas Otamendi, was at a time one of the best centre-backs in the league, playing under Pep Guardiola at Man City. So they do have a lot of areas where they could potentially cause Chelsea some threat. However, I do feel that we will have too much for them from back to front in every area. The quality will shine through, and this is going to start with how Meresca picks his starting 11. It's going to be important. There is now no more time for experimenting, rotating the squad. We are now in the knockout stages of the Club World Cup. This is where it gets tough. So Meresca doesn't have the luxury that he had in the group stages, where he could rotate the side fully, where he could try different things, although some things we don't want to see ever again. He doesn't have that luxury anymore. Now he needs to be serious, and it goes with this game starting by picking his starting 11, and he needs to get that right. So with that being said, looking at the 11, this is the starting 11 that I think Meresca will go with in this fixture. Obviously, there's no debate at the moment, unfortunately, as much as it hurts to say it. Robert Sanchez is the number one, so he will come back, taking his place back from Jorgensen, who played in the last game, and we will come between the sticks and be the number one for this game. On the right-hand side, again, another player that will be returning will be Reece James. He's managed to stay fit. He's looking better and better each game. We cannot have El Capitano not on the pitch. He needs to play this game, and he will. Bring in his experience. Again, he's played at the top level. He's won Champions Leagues, so he knows what these type of games mean, more so than most of the other players in the squad. Next to him, this was a tough one. Obviously, Tosin played in the previous fixture, so if you go based on that, you would think that Meresca would bring in Trevor Chalobah. However, Tosin had a great game. He popped up with a goal. He brings, the aerial presence, which I mentioned in the last game was going to be quite important. So he brings that aerial presence in there. He is a leader, and he's doing really well. He's not put a foot wrong recently, especially the back end of the season. So I think Meresca is going to put Tosin back in, and alongside him will be returning Levi Colwill in place of Badiashile. And then, of course, playing at left back will be Marc Cucurella. Even if there was another left back in the side, he's not getting above Cucurella. He is, one of the first names on the team sheet, one of the best left backs in the world, and he's just getting better and better. And he just understands Meresca's system and the way he wants to play. He fills that inverted role perfectly. If you're ever a player or a manager that wants to learn how to invert your fullbacks, or a fullback learning how to invert, just watch Cucurella play. Watch what he does. He does it to a T. He's picking up all these little pockets of spaces in, deep line midfielder, just behind the strikers of 10. He just picks up and he's popping up with goals. In very Marcus Alonso-esque sort of Ben Chilwell, he's popping up with goals and adding that to this game too. So he's going to return to the squad and he's going to be, very important for us in this game, especially locking down Ángel Di María, who's potentially going to be on his side of the pitch. Moving in to the midfield. Now this is where I think Meresca is going to go a little bit different than some may expect. I don't think he's going to just go with the 2 pivot players. I think he's going to go with the 3, where he has done this in the past, where he's used all 3 of Enzo, Caicedo and Lavia. And this fixture, I think he's going to do the same again. I think he's going to have Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia playing deeper, and with Enzo having the freedom to go forward now and not have to fly back for his defensive duties, because we will be covered in the pivot. This would also mean that the players I've picked to play in the front 3 would push Palmer a little further out to the right hand side. I believe Neto would then come into the left. Again, Neto, another player that I think is going to be very important in this fixture. He's had a great Club World Cup so far. He is looking like our most threatening attacker, and he's starting to pick up combinations between the likes of Palmer, Enzo and Delap. So he is going to be very important for us, especially in attack for this game, because I think this is going to be one of those games where there's not going to be many clear-cut opportunities, and it's going to be a bit of a scrap in terms of trying to pick out those fine moments, these small minute opportunities to get players in behind and create goal scoring opportunities. So I think he's going to be quite vital in that, and especially with Enzo, his newfound lease of form in coming up the goals and assists now, been able to unlock the defences with those over the top balls, and just finding those extra pockets of spaces on the edge and in and around the 6-yard box to get himself on the score sheet. Cole Palmer, a player that I think needs to step up a little bit. He's obviously had a torrid time the last 6 months, basically, since January really, and he needs to start turning the corner, and this is going to be one of those games where he can start this. Obviously didn't get a run out against Esperance, probably would have done him some good to build up a bit of confidence, play against a more weaker opposition just to build that confidence up. But he does tend to show up in the big games, so I fully expect him to show up in this one today. However, he cannot take this lightly. He needs to start getting back into the Cole Palmer form that we saw under the Poch era and in the first sort of 6 months from Meresca. The player is in there. We all know what Palmer can do when he's on it. But it's going to be important going into the knockout stages, round 16. We need our top players performing at their top level. So I'm expecting Palmer to switch it on today and find those good pockets of spaces, link up with the player I'm about to mention next in Liam Delap, who will play as number 9, building on those combinations they have together and just creating a little bit of something for himself to get that confidence back and to propel us into the next round. And as mentioned, I think Liam Delap will go up front. Obviously, there's still no Jackson, but even if there was, I still think Delap deserves to be up front. He just looks like an all-round better striker in terms of finishing, technical ability. He's already combining with players that he's only just met, excluding Palmer, of course. So this is all a big positive. Now, a player that I think is going to be very important for us in this fixture is Moises Caicedo. I think his ability to break up play and just cut out any potential threats from either the wide or coming directly through the centre. He is going to be vital for us in terms of controlling the ball, winning it back and just nullifying any potential threat that Benfica could pose upon the back line. And I have to be honest, I can't fault Caicedo at all across the whole season. He has been our standout player for the entire season, and he brings not just defensive work rate, but he does get involved in the attack, and he does have the ability to spray these nice passes out wide and find these little gaps in the middle. And when he does get the opportunity, he can come up with a goal here and there. But I think the biggest plus that he will give us in this game is the control of the ball in terms of winning it back and just nullifying the opponent's threats. And this is going to be very important for us. We need to keep control of this game. Again, Benfica are not going to sit back and soak up our pressure. They're going to come out and try and play their game. So it's going to be important for Caicedo to disrupt this. Obviously, he's going to have Lavia along beside him, but we know what Caicedo can do. We know how good he is at breaking up play and just getting Chelsea to tick. And this is going to be very important for us against Benfica. So I'm excited to see what Caicedo can do. But let me know your thoughts. Is there a player that you particularly think could be quite important for us or a key player in this fixture? Look, without beating around the bush, I, like many Chelsea fans, want to win this competition. This is a great opportunity, especially how the draw has favoured us in terms of who we've got in the round 16 and who we would have if we were to beat Benfica after that. And it's an opportunity for Chelsea to go out and win this competition. I want to win it, just like every other Chelsea fan. They want our club to win this. We can have that gold badge on our shirt for the next 4 years and become the first team to win the Club World Cup. We've just recently become the first team to complete the full set, first team in history. And that's never going to be done again. So let's now go out, starting against Benfica, and go out and become the first team to win the Club World Cup and become world champions. I think we have enough depth, enough quality in the squad. It's just going to come down to individual moments, individual performance, and they need to be up for it. We cannot go through these rounds, these games now where the top competition is a lot better than what we got in the group, and play with no intensity and no desire, try and coast through games. It's just not going to work, not in these later rounds. So it's going to be important, and these players that have not been particularly playing well, they now need to step up. No excuses. No excuses on Meresca's side. There's no chance for him to experiment and rotate the squad, and there's no excuse on the player side. They need to come out and they need to put on a display and show us what they can do. And I want us to start with Benfica and go all the way. I want to win this competition, and I'm feeling pretty confident. How confident I'm feeling? Well, my score prediction for this game, I think Chelsea are going to win 3-1. I do feel that we're just going to have too much for Benfica, and that the players that have not been playing particularly well are going to step up for this game, and our quality is going to shine through, and we are going to win. And I'm buzzing for this game. I cannot wait for kickoff later, and I'm looking forward to watching Chelsea win and get through to the next round. But that's all from me, guys. And if you enjoyed this video, please drop a comment below, hit that like button, and I will catch you guys in the next one.